Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm your host and founder and CEO of the Bobby White Foundation. This past week or last weekend was really an eye opener, and I'll get into that shortly because we got things coming up, and I want to make sure that we get those in before I talk about something. I mean, it's always important, but this was really super important. So, first off, I want to thank John and Area 52 Media Group for being able to bring all this information to you, letting us talk about the hard stuff, our 155th episode. And our sponsor, DeLynn Gaston, with the mortgage firm, Everything Mortgages. She's the one that you trust to walk you through, get you all set up, help you buy your first home, refinance, anything mortgages and home. She's your gal. So we do have next week the support group for West Pasco is coming up, and that happens to be on the Thursday, the 20th, I believe. Yeah. So remember our support groups in Spring Hill, the second Wednesday of the month, Newport Richey, the third Thursday of the month. So they're going good. And Tuesday is these people really support the Bobby White Foundation tremendously. Rooters, it's a networking group here in Newport Richey. We're having a fundraiser on Tuesday night at Slice of Life, which is at Embassy and Little Road from 6 to 8 p.m. We'll have 50-50 raffle, gift basket raffle. They always have a variety of things that we raffle off, and you buy your own food and drink, but it's free to attend, and we usually have a really good crowd. So it's a fun time, and raising money for our foundation. That's what it's all about. They do a really good job for us and support the foundation tremendously. So we hope to see you there Tuesday night. And next, we're coming up. It's going to be here soon. Dr. Alan Wolfelt from the Center for Loss and Life Transition is going to be in Clearwater and St. Pete at the end of February. It's free to attend any of these seminars, but you do have to register. So you'll go to the Curlew Hills website / Dr. Wolfelt, and you'll register on their website, or that one there. You can register there, or even go to the Center for Loss and Life Transition, his events page. You'll be able to, they'll direct you to there. And also, don't forget their bookstore. They're great books on grief. I'm still at it. I have missed a day or two, but I still read them, even if I'm a day or two behind. But I'm all caught up again. So this is a wonderful everyday, not just suicide specific. This is just a very good meditations and quotes for grief every day, and helping you just think. And I think it's been helping me. I really like reading it every morning when I get up, or nearly every morning when I get up. It's a good way to start the day. It helps get my mind kind of on an even keel, especially if I wake up and I'm not like in a really great mood, like if my cats wake me up at 4:30 in the morning to eat. But then I go back to bed, start all over again, read the transcripts for the day, and it really helps. I think I'm gonna introduce it to our support groups too here pretty soon. I always like to try and get a little bit further into a book that before I really recommend it to a lot of people. But this one I've recommended to you guys from the very beginning because I really do believe in it. So it and really, I really needed to read it like every day this weekend. But last weekend, I didn't. I got couple days behind because we had a real life situation here in our community on Saturday. And I want to share with you a little bit what happened. I'm not going to name names. Some of the people that were involved, if they see this, they'll know what we're talking about. And if not, but it's just to help people and to realize that you can be of more help than what you think, and it doesn't really take a lot. Sometimes it does, but not when you got a village. And fortunately, that's what we ended up having. Saturday, I don't remember what I was doing prior to. I knew that I wanted to just have Saturday and Sunday to just be a downtime, me time, because like I said in last week's show, I had just spent the week speaking 3 times for the foundation at Jersey College to the student nurses. And, we taped the show. During the week, I had Rotary. It was a just busy week, but a lot, with the foundation. And this time of speaking with the nursing students, it was more on a personal level than like when I speak to organizations. Usually I have a PowerPoint and it is personal, but there's more statistics involved and letting people know what's going on in our area. And but the instructor here, because it was I think it was their psych mental health class, that she wanted it was more on a personal level as to what happens to us as suicide loss survivors. How do we deal with what we're dealing with, and how our life changes after a suicide death. And it was really good. The students were awesome, but I just wanted Saturday to just close the gates and just spend the day here, not even leave the property, which I did do that, but it wasn't a hands-off weekend. We had a friend who made a post on Facebook. He was basically reaching out for help. And I can't remember when I saw it about a couple hours after he posted it, because I try sometimes on the weekends not to get too much into the Facebook, the social media stuff, especially when I'm just trying to do some me time. But anyway, by the time I saw his post, I'm not going to say what it said, but it was just he was reaching out for help. And I have spoken to this person in the past about his suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations, or really contemplating taking his life. And we've had discussions about this. It's been a while, but I knew what the post meant. And I noticed that on the post that there were a lot of people starting to respond. But what was happening was they were responding with, hey, if you need to talk, call me. Or, hey, I'm here for you. Comments like that. Well, someone that's in that kind of frame of mind, that's not what they're going to do. They're probably, they might, I can't say never, but that's not really how it works. So there was a lot of that. So I called him, and he picked up the phone, and we talked, and he told me that that's what he was contemplating doing. He wouldn't tell me where he was, and through all that, and in that conversation, that's where I made a mistake. Is, well, he told me sort of where he was, but it was a big, broad, like, sort of. The one thing that I forgot to do was to ask him if he had a plan. I didn't ask him that, but I will remember that the next time something like this happens. So he ended up hanging up. So I immediately called the Citrus County Sheriff's Department. And I didn't call the emergency line, I called the regular line. And I told them what was happening. We didn't know where he was. I asked them if there is a way that maybe they could ping his phone and try and find him. And then they started asking me questions. I tell you what, Citrus County Sheriff's Department, I applaud you. These guys, and it was several officers. So, and like I said, it takes a village. They were asking me questions, so I gave him the information that I knew. He was at a bar in Homosassa. Gave him a description, his phone number. And they asked me a bunch more questions, and I said, I don't have answers to those right at this moment. And I said, but I'll get them. So they started working on it on their end. They already, before we were off the phone, they had it in the system and were working on it. And I started making phone calls. And there were a couple other people that did reach out to him. It took a little while. And I tried to call him back, and he wouldn't answer. So I texted him. I'm like, hey, trying to find out exactly where he was, because didn't know what kind of car he drove. And even a lot of the people that I spoke to, an employer, they didn't know what kind of car he drove. So I texted him, I said, hey, why don't I come up and have a beer with you? And he wouldn't respond to me. And after initial contact with a couple other people, he did the same thing. And so it was starting to be, we'll have initial contact, and then he wouldn't get back to whoever again. So I finally located another friend who had his daughter's contact, and somebody had gotten in contact with her. So I got her contact information. I was able to locate exactly where he was, the kind of car that he drove. So I called them back, and I said, I have this this information. And I said, his daughter's on her way, but she's an hour out. And again, they were, and in between all this time too, the sheriff's office was calling me back, and they were super great about keeping me updated as to where we were at. And I learned something, and I was kind of upset about it, because one of the officers said that if they found him and confronted him in a good way, and asked him if he was contemplating suicide or killing himself, and he denied it, that they weren't going to be able to do anything about it, that they couldn't go just on my word, even though this isn't the first type of conversation that I've had with him. And I was really upset about that. And they asked me if they thought he would be aggressive when they approached him, and I said, I really don't think so. And I didn't think that he would lie to them and tell them that, no, this isn't true, everybody's lying. I really didn't think he would do that, because I felt that his post on Facebook was him reaching out. He wanted help. He didn't want to die. He was just in so much pain, he didn't know what to do. And so they were able to locate him. I mean, just really shortly after I gave him the location and his vehicle, and they called to let me know that he was safe and that he agreed to go with them and get help. They were going to take him to the hospital. I was so relieved. And so I made sure, I said, you need to, I said, again, his daughter's on her way. You need to get a hold of her so that she knows, where you're taking him, and they can get together and things can start to get worked out and figure a plan and heal as a family. And his daughter was just so appreciative and just so nice and so concerned. And I talked to her a couple of times as she was heading that way, and I told her, I says, I'm really sorry I had to do this. And she was like, oh no, Tammy. She says, I so appreciate you doing this. My dad needed help, and you were getting him the help and keeping him safe. She said, I have no hard feelings. I am just so appreciative. And that made me feel good. But the most important thing was to make sure that he was going to be safe. And again, to a couple other friends who another friend got him to text a little bit more. And she found, he did give up his location to her. We had already received that information, but like I told her, I said, I'm just so appreciative that you kept on it after we talked. And he did give you that information because just in case at that point we didn't have it, at least she was able to get it. So it takes a village. I mean, there were several of us working on this all together, so that we could get everything together and so I could get the information to the Citrus County Sheriff's Office, and they were great. They called me when they located him, told me he was safe. They called me afterwards after they got him and his daughter settled, and just to get a little bit more information. And I'm just really happy that right now he's safe and he's with family, and we'll move forward. He has contacted me a couple times. He was was it, I think last night he texted me, and he thanked me, but he said he was quite surprised that the sheriff's office showed up. And I just said, I'm sorry, but my main concern was your safety, and to let you know that I and many others in our community love and care about you, and we just wanted to make sure you were going to be safe. That was the most important thing. So he and I'll get together again. I told him, I want to give him some time with his family, and when he's ready, we'll sit down and talk. We'll sit and have coffee or a drink, and we'll just and we'll talk, like we did a few years ago prior, to this happening. But so what can you do? What do you look for when somebody is in this kind of state and you're not really sure? So we have some things that you can look for. If a person talks about killing themselves, or they talk about feeling hopeless, or having no reason to live, like, oh, I'd be better off or you'd all be better off if I wasn't here, or being a burden to others. That's one thing that Bobby used with me. He felt like he was going to be a burden. Their mood changes, depression, anxiety, irritability. Like if something happens that is like frustrating, but their reaction to it is like over the top. Bobby was starting to have some of that agitation. Then there's more. Let's go to the next one. other things to look for. The behavior changes, increased use of drugs and alcohol, isolating themselves, starting to sleep too much or sleep too little, giving away prized possessions. That's a big one. That happens a lot, both with adults and with teens. And then with the military, there's even more. I don't. Special is not the word, but it's specific to military. Cleaning their souvenir weapons, avoiding people, and again, alcohol abuse, defensive speech, which kind of in a way, I mean, you would understand that. We don't understand what these women and men go through when they're deployed. Visiting graveyards, maybe fallen comrades, like quite often. It's you'll notice, but then too, you don't know what you don't know, and a lot of these things, when it came to Bobby, I didn't know, but I could see from those those lists that those were some of the indicators that were happening. Probably the last year, maybe, before he took his life. Brain fog, so I don't remember how long it. Hindsight is great, but this is why we try to instill in people to learn about what to look for and what not to be afraid to talk about. So, how can you help when you see somebody exhibiting these behaviors that are not normal for them? Assume you're the only one reaching out. Like I said in his post, and still today, and I went on there after I knew he was safe and put on there, our friend is safe. And people were still doing the same thing. Hey, here's my phone number. Call me if you want to talk. Assume you're the only one reaching out. There were, besides myself, there were few other people. And some people didn't know what to do. I got a phone call from somebody that they didn't know what to do, and she told me what was happening, and I said, is it so and so? And she says yes. And I said, okay, we've got it handled. We've talked to the sheriff's department. Things are in motion. So what are some other things that you can do? Let me look. I gotta see this. Talk to the person directly about suicide. Do not beat around the bush, especially when something like this is happening. If you can, talk in private. Don't make a scene about it. I didn't make any posts on his Facebook page other than when I knew he was safe, just saying our friend is safe. I didn't do anything else when it came to that. And take the person seriously. I knew to take Dale seriously because we've already had that discussion at one time. And the one thing and this is where, like I said earlier, I didn't think about it, was to find out if he had a plan. I didn't know if he had a gun with him. I didn't know if he had a plan, and I forgot to ask. So ask the person. If there are lethal means, guns, try and secure them. Get them away from the location. And the same with drugs. Take them away, because oftentimes it's just like a knee-jerk reaction, and if you can get them separated for an hour, that might be enough to save somebody's life. Let them know their life matters to you. That's what everybody was doing. Even though they didn't contact him, they were still everybody was still letting him know that his life mattered to all of us, and try and remind him that their suffering is temporary. He was going through a bad time, and I know that he'll get past this. It is temporary, but that's what you have to help somebody do, is just get past that bad time. Now, I believe he's gonna get past this. But quite oftentimes, if it with him, I don't think it'll be an issue, but I can't rule it out. But quite oftentimes, the time period right after someone is getting help and is released to their family or friends, the first 72 hours, the first week is quite critical. So he's surrounded with his family, and so I feel that he's going to be safe. He's going to be good. Now, because of this incident, and we've done this before, we're going to go back to Be the One to series. So our quote for this week is, be the one to ask. Ask the tough question. When somebody you know is in emotional pain, ask them directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? Don't beat around the bush. You have to ask them directly. If they're not, you asking them is not going to make them do it. It's not. So, like we always do, put these numbers in your phone. Have them memorized. The National Suicide Prevention Lifelines, 988 741 741. They can text badges for first responders. Teenagers, text talk, or text 741 741, or text Jason 741 741. And first veterans, you can call or text 988 and press 1. So, in light of all that happened, remember, there is always hope. Thank you.